Hello and welcome to the Freedom Seekers Show, the place where we have unfiltered conversations that matter to women. I'm your host, Yvonne Winkler, author, facilitator, women's wisdom coach, and mental health advocate. And I want to acknowledge that I'm on the unceded traditional territories of the Comox First Nation. And my guest today is Maura Shafto. Maura is an engaging financial coach who makes talking about money easy. She creates safe environments for people to have access to learning about money in a new way, addressing where they are and identifying their own habits, biases, behaviors, and beliefs. And Maura entered financial services after a successful career in management and sales in the automotive industry. And she knew that she wanted to make or have a different impact in a different way. And while helping people transform their confidence around money decisions, she saw the life-affirming difference it made in their lives. Getting money conversations out of the closet is one of her life goals. Welcome, Maura. I am so excited to have you on the Freedom Seekers Show, finally.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on here. You know, the story when you were just going through the bio, and I was actually remembering one of the main reasons why I wanted to find a different career path. I did a lot of things in the automotive industry, and the last role that I had was as a new car manager. And, you know, salesmen were bringing deals into me, and I was looking at them. Could we sell it for that? Could we get the client approved? And it was hard to watch people get $600, $700, $800 a month car payments.
Wow. Yeah.
Knowing that that probably wasn't the best financial decision for them to be making. But my role was obviously to move as much product as I could.
Yeah, that's
right?
what you were getting paid for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was getting paid for. So I really saw that when they were prioritizing a car as one of the, you know, at that time, it was as much as their mortgage payment, then I knew that people were struggling with priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started shifting into the financial world.
So that was one of my first questions for you, Maura, is like, can you share a personal story? So clearly sitting, how long were you in that industry?
25 plus years. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you've seen quite a bit change. Mm-hmm. You've also seen a lot come across your desk, I'm sure. So that was, would you say then, the instigator for you to make a shift and educate yourself more about what that would look like? Or was there a personal story that made the final move?
Well, the first instigator was because I wanted to make a difference for people. Yeah. The more I sort of dug into the industry and then became certified as a cash flow specialist and as a qualified associate financial planner, I then started learning more about behavioral finance. And then I was starting to understand how emotions play into our decision making. And it's not just around money. Emotions play into our decision making in almost everything we do. Are we going to go to the gym? Don't feel like it. Or am I going to eat right today? Oh, I had a bad day. Don't feel like, whatever it is, we're making an emotional decision. And when it comes to money, it can have long-term impacts. And I saw in my own life that I had maybe trusted the wrong people, and in certain cases made a decision under duress that really I wish I had never made. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to help people really be able to talk through their money decisions in a way that they didn't feel shame or guilt or judgment. They're already judging themselves, right?
Probably harsher than anybody else can.
Probably harsher than anybody else. Yeah. And so that's why I've started to really focus on when I'm speaking with a client about especially cash flow, it's a coaching conversation. It's not just the practical aspects. We need both, right? We need both sides of the money equation. What do you do with money? How do you earn your money? What do you want to do with it? And then why are you making those choices?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And when those are not in alignment because we haven't had these conversations or we haven't thought about it, that is when we make poor decisions or decisions that can cost us big time, or we'll never get to where we want to go because we don't actually know why we want to get to where we want to go. And
right. Right. Yes, there's a lot tied up, and I always say money is the longest relationship you're going to have.
So
and
true.
It's really important to make it a good relationship. And anybody has the opportunity, if they're willing to look at where they are, to change their relationship with money.
Yeah. I love that. Because, most of us have some deep-seated money stories that were not our own. They were stories that we've been told either by the communities that we were in or by our own caretakers. But you emphasize that financial literacy alone isn't enough to change money-related habits and behaviors. So could you elaborate a little bit on what practical steps maybe and insights viewers can bridge that gap between understanding financial concepts, like you said, knowing what that is, and implementing those effectively in their life? And I'm going to add dealing with that, with the money stories that we grew up with, that we made our own, and that we might not even be aware of that we have.
Mm-hmm. Well, there have been some studies done about epigenetics, which is, cellular memory about things, trauma, whatever it is. And there could be money trauma. There could be the way that your parents taught you about money or didn't teach you. You picked it up by watching. And then there's your own money stories that, happen to you as you're making decisions in your life. And then we create stories about those stories. And then it all becomes it starts going around and around. So it's important to, when I say financial literacy isn't enough, I get asked this and it gets noticed. People talk about it all the time. Oh, we were never taught about money in high school. Everyone should be taught about money in high school. Okay. So if we're taught about money in high school, think about all the things you learned in high school that you don't remember. The periodic table, the capital of Bolivia, right? If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And in the case of money, what you needed to know at 18 is not what you need to know at 25, is not what you need to know at 35, is not what you need to know when you have a mortgage, when you have children, when you've gone through a divorce, when there's been a death in the family, when you're starting a business. So financial literacy, just the concepts aren't enough. You need to have the confidence to start putting that into the choices that you're making. I always want people to build some awareness about where they are currently. And that can take something, right? Because then you're saying, it's a journey. And it's a journey no matter what you are earning, no matter what income level you have, no matter what the assets are. I have a friend who, their brother and sister, they lost their father very young. The male, the brother, became a very, very successful businessman, driven by the desire for money, because after the father died, there wasn't enough money. The sister, on the other hand, struggled with cash flow. Same family, two different outcomes. So there's what's happening, and then what's happening in here. And it's never, it's never just about the money. So when I'm asking people to just knowing we all know how to eat right and exercise. We could watch every YouTube video there is, but are we all super fit? And do we all eat right?
No. So there seems to be some interest levels around money as well. What I'm hearing is, you know, the things that we're interested in, we make an effort to learn more about. And money often tends to fall short on that spectrum. Like, at least it's been my experience in talking with people that the money conversation is generally a difficult one. It's generally taboo to talk about. Like, so I'm assuming that feeds quite right into this, you know, not learning about it, and probably why people think that it should be part of a curriculum in school, so that we have no choice about it and we have to learn some form of it. I remember a few years back, I volunteered for it's so funny how I always forget what the name of the organization was, but we did money education in school for kids. Junior Achievers, that's who it was. Junior
Thank
Achievers.
you. Yeah, and, I've done that too, actually.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. And I learned so much myself while I was doing this, you know. And these kids knew so much about money already at like those, like, I mean, it was not early high school level, so it wasn't, you know, older kids. They were in grade 8, I think, or grade 9. I don't even know if that is high school. Not that familiar with the Canadian school system, but so it wouldn't have been, because high school starts what, grade 9, right?
High school starts at grade 9. Yeah.
So it was whatever is before high school. So I don't know if that's
so junior high.
Junior high, that's what it was. Yeah. And I remember thinking, wow, these kids know a lot about money already. Like they're being exposed to it, and maybe even now more than they were in when I was that age, with technology where it is, you know, with apps and with using, you know, internet and using the different streaming services and whatnot, right? They have a different exposure to the world now than we might have when books were and teachers were only options. But let's get back to what we were talking about. So leading into that conversation around how difficult that can be to have these conversations, do you have any advice on how to initiate conversations around money, and that could be supportive and also non-judgmental?
Okay, well, first I'll address the non-judgmental. We're judging beings. Human beings judge. That's how we align ourselves with other people. That's how we decide whether you want this in my life, I want this in my life. So it's difficult to be fully non-judgmental. In fact, I think it's not possible. You can create as an open as space as you possibly can. So when you're wanting to have a money conversation with your partner, for instance, the time to not do it is when you're arguing about money, when something's happened, when there isn't enough money to pay for the new fridge, or you know, there's been maybe some financial infidelity that you've just found out about. Some of the things that I suggest is that you schedule a meeting ahead of time. And you say, hey, this Thursday night at 7, let's sit down and start to talk about our money situation, how things are going, what we each want. You may find that they're open to it. You may find that there's some resistance, but if you schedule the meeting ahead of time and have a bit of an agenda about what you want to talk about, and you can actually say, I know talking about money is really hard. It's hard for me.
It. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too is when you bring two people together that have they've been raised differently about money. They might have different money experiences themselves. Right. Then you're trying to merge two different ways of handling money together. And it's important to see what the individual goals are, but what the couple's goals are.
Oh, 100%. I mean, money is one of the biggest stressors in marriages and relationships, right?
One of the major causes of divorce.
Yeah. So having that dialogue early on before resentment is built up or before it gets to that boiling point might be a wise move. What do you think?
Well, I think it should be a regular conversation.
Yeah.
I think it should be just scheduled into the life. Like, hey, how did this month go? You know, review your net worth statement every 6 months or at least annually. So a net worth statement, for anyone who maybe doesn't know, is the value of your assets less the value or the liabilities, the amount of debt that you owe. And the difference is your net worth, right? So it's important to understand, what are we trying to do with our money? What are we trying to do with our money right now? What are we trying to do with our money in the future? And there's always a lot of judgment around, oh, well, you know, people should be paying for experiences. Like, being materialistic is bad. It's like, oh, you know, just stop. Because maybe the way that lights me up is a Louis Vuitton bag for my hard work. But what lights you up is a trip to Portugal. Neither of those two things are wrong.
No. There's the judgment piece again, right?
But then knowing how your partner rewards themselves with money or what they want money to do for them, right? And then it's easier to understand. Yes. And then you can, you know, I recommend for some couples that I've worked with that when you're finished working with me, you probably have 6 bank accounts. And you each could have what I would call, and I didn't coin this word myself, a light on fire account. And whatever goes in there, you don't have to discuss with your partner if you spend from there. So if you want a new pair of shoes, or you want to take the girls out for dinner, or you want to go on a golfing holiday and their money's in the account, it's your own light on fire money. And that just takes all of the conversation. It's not a problem anymore. Yeah,
like the justification of I went and got my hair done, and you know, oh, what did you spend this money on these shoes for, and all of this. There's a bucket for that.
Yeah, like leaving the thing in, like I was talking to someone that she was at a market and she was like, yeah, I always pay cash, that way my husband can't track what I'm spending. Okay.
Yeah, that's got to be a tough situation in that house when you have those types of
feels like control, right?
Secrecies and so I can see that. Open communication as best as possible. Would you suggest then that if they find it difficult to have these conversations, to bring in someone like yourself to have a sit down and maybe initiate some of these conversations, to show them how they're done, and then maybe in the future they can do them on their own?
Well, certainly, of course, I'm going to suggest that, right? What I would say is, so when someone approaches me to talk to them about cash flow planning and, you know, getting things back online, I always request, if there is a partner, that the partner is present, because they both are going to have conversations with me, and there's going to be no secrets. Right. So, and in fact, sometimes that can take the pressure off them. Because it just,
she said, so just come sit down and
that's
let's
right.
do this. It's something we have to do. So I can totally see that.
Yeah.
So you also said, and this kind of plays into what we were talking about with the, you know, the having several different bank accounts for different purposes. You say that traditional budgets don't work for most people, in your perspective. What alternative methods or strategies do you recommend for individuals who struggle with budgeting?
Okay, well, first off, I'd like to explain a little bit about why I think budgets don't work for people. So when we're doing budgets, even if you've got an app, even if your phone bings, whatever you've spent, you've already spent it. So budgets are always done, and we plan them ahead. We review them in retrospect. And we're like, oh, I'm $150 over, or, oh, I didn't plan for this, or, oh, I had to take the dog to the vet. I'm $500 over. That happens 2-3 months in a row, and you're like, this isn't working. Forget it. Right? And there's lots of evidence that we struggle with budgets. I think budgets are great for a few things. They're great for planning a trip. They're great for planning a renovation. They're great for planning a wedding. They're great for things that have a start and an end date, and you've got a goal. They're not great for life.
Or an event. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I recommend using cash flow. So that's looking at what income is coming into your house, what income is going out of your house, and separating it into what are committed expenses. So those are the things that you have to pay, or there's going to be some kind of a consequence. Your heat, your cell phone bill, your mortgage, your rent, anything like that.
Yeah.
Your savings, your investments, your insurance, all of those things, they're committed. And then you look at what you've got left over. And then based on that, we figure out, okay, what have we got left? What jobs do we need to have done? One thing that I say is that groceries are not a committed expense. And people are like, what do you mean?
Gotta eat.
Like, we have to eat. Okay, so have you ever gone into the grocery store hungry without your list?
Yes, to both.
Right? Have you ever gone to Costco because you wanted to save some money? And then you walk out
to Costco.
Yeah. And then you walk out with, a couple of new shirts and a pair of running shoes, and maybe, oh my God, that patio set, it's on sale.
Oh, it's at Costco. Yeah.
There's a reason why Costco looks like a warehouse, because they want you to believe that everything's on sale there. Right? So groceries go in the spendable account. And shoes, gifts, dinners out, entertainment, all of that stuff goes into the spendable account. And that's based on the income that you're earning, the amount of debt that you're carrying, where you are in your life, how much assets you have. And there's a guideline that I use. I'm using software to determine that number. And then you're figuring out, then what you're doing is you're actually separating your bank accounts. So your money goes into your committed account. And then you transfer the money into your spendable account.
Yes.
You don't even have a debit card on the other account. And then that's what you're spending with. For some clients, I get them to use cash. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, maybe forever. Right? That we're raised in a kind of world where everything's supposed to be convenient. And I like to say, we want to increase the friction with which we spend money, make it less convenient, and decrease the friction with which we save and invest. So automate those things.
Yeah.
Everything else, make it hard.
Yeah.
Make it harder.
Put some blocks in the middle of it. Like that I used to do was if it was over $100, I would always have to sleep on it before I would make the purchase. Like
a 24, 48-hour wait time is a great idea. You see something you want, do you still want it 48 hours later? Okay.
Yeah. For those impulse shopping sprees, which, the timing of this is brilliant, because we are getting into that season where that is being taken advantage of. And I think this is something I didn't really want to get into it, but I think it's really worth mentioning is that, like you said about Costco, there are also greater powers at force that, we have to give ourselves some grace around, that it isn't our fault per se. I'm not excusing bad behaviors. I'm just saying it's, there's a lot more at force here in our spendings than maybe our own behavioral intentions.
There is a lot of pressure to spend.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure to spend. We have targeted ads. If you're on social media, you could be seeing up to 10,000 ads a day. That's an estimate. In the 70s, you were probably seeing 1,500 ads a day.
Yeah.
Right now you're seeing 10,000, and they know what you like. I was looking for a bag, and then all of a sudden in my feed, it's like 47 bags. I'm like, dear God.
Yeah.
Right? Why didn't I log into a virtual network when I was looking at bags, right? So there's a lot of pressure to buy. And we're always hearing, oh, consumer confidence is down. Well, we don't want the economy to crash. So, spending is the way that our economy runs. So there's a lot of pressure, and there's pressure to look good. Just the pressure alone to present yourself the way that you see everyone else presented on social media is really powerful.
Yeah, it is
very powerful.
So enter the whole conversation around influencers, but let's save that for another time. Maura, I find this conversation fascinating, and clearly it's not something we'll resolve all of it in half an hour. But what I would love to hear from you is if there's something you really want to impart to people, what would that be? Like, what is a message that you really want people to hear you for?
Whatever situation that you are in with your money right now is a situation. It's not a life sentence. You
Wonderful.
Can change your relationship with money.
That is so liberating to hear that. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Maura. How can people best get a hold of you? What's your preferred method?
I'd say LinkedIn is probably the best way to connect with me. And you can see lots of the content that I post about money and emotions and all of that kind of stuff on LinkedIn. Yeah, you do some great videos on there. Yeah, I love those. Yeah. All right, I will post your LinkedIn information under here and in the Freedom Seeker channel as well, so that people can reach you quickly and easily that way. Thank you so much for coming on to the Freedom Seeker Show and helping us have these unfiltered conversations around money and, cracking that door open just a bit. Yes. I hope to have you back, and maybe we can continue this conversation and go a little bit deeper into something, one of the aspects. And for that, dear listeners, I would love your feedback on what about this conversation really sparked your attention, and would you like to know more about, and what questions do you have? You can post them under this video, or send us an email, and I will make certain that I will woo Maura back into here, and we'll talk some more about this. So until then, have a really good night, and thanks for watching, and thank you, Maura, for coming on and sharing all of your wisdom with us. Thank you so much for having me.